purpose, work begun. Co-author of a movement, not-for-profits game, teaching kids that self-belief can ease the pain. Every child deserves to face their fears with measured thinking, not just tears. She's planting seeds of strength in every mind. Paulette Harlem, leaving no child behind. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do?
Ooh. Abrupt stuff.
What to do? I'm still having a little sing song. Don't mind me. Could it go on for another minute or two?
I was enjoying it as well. And I was singing to myself.
I tell you, it's one of the funniest things ever. That is so catchy, and it goes round and round in your head for hours afterwards. I think it's great for that reason.
So, unless you're me, you know, I'm easily weirded out by different things. So I was trying to find.
Weirded out? That's an interesting word.
Yeah, I'm easily freaked out by most things, right? Even the simple things in life, right? So I was trying to find like a Jack and Walter start video. I saved all of them, so I'm going to go to the last one and then edit, you know, change the picture basically. And I realized that they've been doing 30 seconds. Even though I've said they should do a minute. So I thought, okay, let me just let me edit one of them. It was playing this song, Paulette, and I just did not realize it was the same song. I'm thinking, no, why is it playing my song? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. You know, and then get rid of that. So eventually, I thought, let me just make a new one, right? So that's how I did. Yeah.
See, I love it when it gets all gospelly and it's like, yeah, what? And I'm like, yeah, come on. I could see me in front of a church of people going, yeah, come on, let's all sing to Walter.
Let's do
like,
it. The Church of Paulette.
Yeah.
The Church of Paulette. You know, that's what we need to get to.
It's a kind of church, isn't it? Because what it is, it's a church of love. It's a church of freedom. It's a church of peace, and it's a church of help and support.
Yeah,
so that's a hell of a church, right?
It is. That's what church should be, not what church is, right?
There's no charge for my church. That's why my church is very poor. I have no premises. My church, no back garden.
It's not gonna work. No, we're not going to.
When I go around with the plate, they go, "Yeah, thank you. It's lovely. I had a lovely time."
the place called Buy Me a Coffee, which we're still waiting for.
We know how that works.
We're dying of thirst, right? You know, we haven't drank coffee for God knows how long. But it's all right. It's all right.
But it isn't just about value. It's for me, it's about me giving value for money. But in turn, it's about people buying the books. It's about people visiting, jackandwalter.com, the website. It's about people actually knowing who Paulette Hallam is. That's something. If they just go away and go, Paulette Hallam is, then that means I've done something today. So, it's key for me that we always understand why I do this. I do this because I want you to understand how you can help your kids. But everything I'm talking about today, and I mean everything, is related to adults too. All right?
Yeah.
So I don't want anyone to think that in any way, shape or form, I am just talking to parents, because I'm not, or grandparents or aunts or uncles or teachers, or I'm talking to everybody who has anything to do with themselves, people, adults, fellow family members, but also I'm talking to people who do have access to children and have interventions for children where, maybe you are going to get a question where you're going to think, I don't know how to answer that. I don't quite know where to go, right? And so anxieties, and this is the key of today's story, and Annie is the best support in this, but he gets this more than anyone. This guy's no fool, he plays the fool, but it's no fool. He's a psychology major. He has a master's in, marketing and psychology, and so we neither of us are daft, but we forget things, and when we have kids, it's the first thing we forget. It's like not just baby brain, it's like, oh my god, I forget being a kid, I forget what it's like. It was like 30 years ago. How am I supposed to remember what I felt like when I was 7? How am I supposed to feel like when I was, and yet if you think about it, it's ever so easy, because you look at yourself and you think, how would I feel? How do I feel? Because if I feel like this, then that's probably how they're feeling. So at the moment, I'm not going to talk about war and things like that, because we did that last week, not last week, the week before last. But the real anxiety message today is, what is anxiety? What causes it? How does it work? How does it happen? How can we deal with it? You cannot pick up the carpet, brush it underneath, and expect it to just disappear. Because I've got horrible news for you guys. It doesn't, okay? So if somebody has a panic attack, you can't go, pull yourself together.
I don't know, Paulette. Before you carry on,
Here we go.
I want to pick on, right, and then I'll let you do your thing, right? Let's welcome our friends first of all.
Please.
Now, LinkedIn user, no idea who you are. Please help.
Could be Annie. Hi,
Annie. Could be many people. Many people show up as a LinkedIn user these days. So Anisha, welcome.
Hello, Anisha.
I hope I feel blessed. I feel blessed every day, to be fair, right?
Oh, Jane's here.
Jane, welcome. What to do indeed. Sharon Rose, where are you? I saw you. I saw Sharon.
Yeah, Sharon popped up.
Yeah, Sharon Rose is here as well. How you doing? I met Sharon yesterday properly. Lively. That's all I can say, right?
I like that. I like lively.
Childlike wonderment is amazing, and anxiety blocks it for sure. That's it. Right. And of course, Dr. Lisa is here as well. Welcome, start friends. We have our room later on tonight.
We do, yes.
What are we talking about, Paulette? We're starting.
I want to ask you, because I knew last week, you didn't. Come on.
I haven't got a clue. I have to look, and I saw it in the side of my eye when I was looking around earlier. But I have no idea, Paulette. Help me out.
No.
We have a guest speaker. I know that much.
Yeah, we do.
I have no idea who the guest speaker is, but I get to meet some of Lisa's good friends, so that's a good thing. I'm gonna have a look what today's topic is. Caregiving in menopause. That's the one.
Menopause. And how do we cope with caregiving? Yes, interesting, that one. Caregiving at the best of time is interesting. So when you're in menopause, really interesting.
Well, it's another one of your baggage that you have to live with, and that's anything that you have to worry about.
Well, you're trying to care for yourself. Where you always find yourself as women falling further and further down the list of things, and you're trying to hold it together for everyone else. But we'll talk about that later. Much to say on that topic.
I'll share the link later.
To say.
You see, look, before I give it back to you, I'll say this. You mentioned, I guess, the presence that we want to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, it's not. I think I'm having a conversation tomorrow, Wednesday, about AI and being authentic.
Yeah.
It's not. I think you've answered half the question there, and literally you've answered the question I'm going to ask, which is, we need to be present where the people we're trying to help are. And my friends, don't be the person who's still posting leaflets and flyers on trees or lampposts. The internet's here, interweb. I remember when it came in, everyone was like, "No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." I saw someone the other day, someone I met, an author who's still typing his book on a typewriter. I'm like, I'm sorry, how am I meant to get that book then? Because it's not digital, right? And I say we're making the same mistake with AI. I'm not a great fan of selling your soul to AI and doing anything by it.
There's different uses for it. I don't believe you should have AI write your book for you. But I do understand that Grammarly and things like that, which is AI, which is smart, which will go through your book and check your grammar and make sure that your grammar's correct. And I can see where that would have a huge and absolute important purpose. What I don't agree with is when people get caught with AI writing their essays or AI doing, that's not right. I don't agree with that. But AI working with you and for you, 100% for it.
I agree. I say, look, I say all this because now we're working towards bringing AI to our friends. You know, I found an AI magician. You know, and look, if you want to join my conversation tomorrow, just do a search on ChatGPT, Gemini, whichever one you use for yourself. Just do a search for
what on your name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do a search. No, I've never done until a couple of days ago. When someone said, "No, do it," I think Christina said, "Do it," and just do it. I'm like, "No, you do it." As she did. Gemini told her something. Then when I did my search on ChatGPT, I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." You know, what was it gonna say about you, right?
And I don't know if I want to know.
I'll do it with you later after the show. I'll do a search for you and then show you what's AI.
Only if it's nice. You only tell me if it's.
No, it's normally nice. It's like AI doesn't want to be horrible. AI doesn't give you
okay.
It's normally nice. It's the worry is if it says nothing.
So I've got no mean girl stuff, right?
No. It's a worry if it says nothing, then you're in trouble, right?
Okay.
We'll talk about this another time. I'm going to talk about AI for the next 6 weeks in my Venue 37 business rooms, and it does lead to a masterclass on the 27th of May.
Of course it does, and we're all going to be going, won't we? Yes.
You are. When you
and
know
I'm
what you're
going to be the guinea pig. Yes, I am. I know.
That's it. See, this is
learning,
like as Lisa says. You know, wow, thanks a lot. And you're feeling like, yes, now we are, you know, the three of us do come together, in case you haven't noticed. You know, said me, Lisa, and Paulette, you know, we're where we are together most of the time, right? You know, and this is love. Yes, Paulette. You know, you'll see, you know. Anyway, Emma, how you doing? Glad you're here. It's a blessing.
Hi, gorgeous.
Welcome, the amazing Josh. How are you doing, Josh?
My brother. Hey.
Yeah, right. And that's me for now, Paulette. So I'll let you. Anxieties, Paulette. Everyone. It's not everyone. A lot of people.
No, it is.
Is it everyone that worries?
Everyone. Every single person on the planet. Yeah. And you don't even know those that look bolshy and confident and everything else. The reason they spend 3 hours in the mirror is because of the anxiety of what will someone think of me if there is one eyebrow out of place. What will they think of me if my hair is not 100%? Everybody has the demons, and the demons are basically anxieties that we put on ourselves. You know?
Do you remember a while ago when Jay used to take the Mickey? You know, not take the Mickey. He used to impersonate me. When Jay was doing Uncle.
Yeah.
Uncle voice that he was
Cletus or whatever his name was. Him.
And you know, and the only thing that I kept saying was, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna make a T-shirt, a Global.Media T-shirt. Don't worry about it across the front for everyone to buy, because that's what's the point, Paulette? It's pointless. Anyway, give us your take, then I might learn something, right?
Yeah, that'd be great. So as I said before, you know, in case people have chat. Oh, here we go. I'm on the big screen. Okay, here we go. The most important thing for me today is to say that everybody that I'm talking about isn't everybody's going to suffer from all of these things, and not everybody's going to suffer from or their children are going to suffer from all of the things I talk about. But if you're aware and alert and you're ready to pick up on the nuances, that's going to wisen you to how you handle things. So the kind of key audience for what I'm talking about really is parents, teachers, caregivers, guardians, etc. But grandparents, aunts, uncles, but also yourselves. Because everything I say actually is not just akin to children, it's akin to ourselves too. So the objective of what I want to try and get over today is that, you know, anxiety in children and adults is often transferred between them. So you don't even understand it, but but your fear of spiders and anxiety around spiders will be passed on to your children, because you will freak out when you see a spider. So guess what? They freak out when they see a spider, because that's what you do, because spiders are scary. Ditto, your siblings. If siblings are frightened of one thing, you're likely to follow suit, or you'll be the one that's chasing them with the worm, right? So, it's about strategies to understand how those fears get transferred, how those anxieties and feelings, because I'm really talking about feelings here. So, think of a time where you personally have felt worried, where you felt nervous or upset, or something in you made you feel a certain kind of way, right? I want you to remember that moment and think, what did you notice? Was it your heart rate? Was it the sweats? Was it a bit of a tremor in your hands? Was it footsteps and you could hear them getting louder and you walked quicker? And what is the thing? And it doesn't matter what the thing was. It's just remembering that exact moment in time. And when you remember that, you can actually say, that's what we call like a reflection of what anxiety feels like. It's a common and recognizable feeling. Ah, that's how I felt when that happened. I've got it. And that's all I want today. We come away from today knowing what I'm talking about is that moment when you go, oh yeah, that's that feeling again. Then we've won, okay? Because recognizing it means that we can preempt it, we can stop it, we can redirect it, we can manipulate it. But we can only do it once we recognize it. So, what is anxiety? The key concept is really, if you imagine, it's a natural body response. It's not a weakness, and I won't have anyone say it is. It's not a weakness. It's like the fight-flight response. It's something that's been innate in us for years. We were built this way. And it's a body preparing for a perceived danger or a real threat. Your body goes into, there's a problem, right? There's danger around that corner. There's a spider around that corner. Whatever it is, it's preparing you for it, okay? And the reaction is in the mind, and I can go through all the chemicals, but I'm not here for a chemistry lesson. We're here on a feelings lesson. So what happens is your heart will race, your muscles will tense, your back will become very straight. That's a very clear indication when you suddenly find yourself getting a bit bolt upright. Your mind goes on full alert, right? Okay, I'm ready for danger, The simple explanation is anxiety is like an alarm system, all right? It's meant to protect us. Sometimes it goes off and actually there's no need and we're in a completely safe environment, but we can give it the wrong signals. And then when we give it the wrong signals, the alarm system goes off. And then we go into this full anxiety situation and nobody will understand what the hell's going on, but something triggered you. And that's a great expression. Remember that. Triggered you. Okay. So now we've decided that with alarms, we know what it is. It's an alarm system. It's a protection system. In children, what causes anxiety is normally uncertainty. So when they feel uncertain, they feel on edge, they feel as if there is a risk, they feel they're not in control. We said we were going to go to so-and-so's for dinner tonight. Suddenly we're not. Why not? And you will go in your mind as a child to 50 million different places as to why we're not going. Okay? Because that's what we do. we try to reason things, especially older teenage children. Younger children will just take you at your word. They'll go, oh, okay then, right? Can we do this instead, right? But an older child will be like, but why? What's the reason? They start to be a bit more quizzical, a bit more adult thinking, older mind thinking. So developing fears and the development of fears, it can be definitely age related. So a child who watches a mum be frightened of something that's moving on the floor will obviously pick up on that. But likewise, it can be age related. So Ben never wanted dirty hands. Don't know why, never understood it. Then when I understood what autism was and really, really got to grips with it, I understood that that is one of the traits of autism. Past experiences, so fear, embarrassment, and change. So let's just go through those very quickly. The fear one is pretty big. When you are frightened of something, your emotions are heightened. When you are embarrassed by something, your emotions are heightened. So a teacher asks you a question, you don't know the answer. You thought you knew the answer and you were quite confident when you put your hand up, and you get told you're wrong. And you have to sit there in that classroom going, everyone's looking at me. They know I can get it right. I'm going to be the laughing stock of the dinner hall. They're all going to be talking about it. 90% of the classroom would have forgotten it. One or two, not very, I call them mean girls or mean boys, they might have a word, but it's not going to be a big deal. But the more you sit there, the more you get yourself in a state about it because you got some wrong. The teacher's moved on to the third, fourth, fifth question. You've not done your work. And the reason you've not done your work is guess why? Because you're still sitting there worrying about answering the question. I'm going to give you an adult example of that. It's when someone cuts you off when you're driving. And you're like, how dare they? You know, if there was space, I would have probably been, got a bit of time. I might have just, indicated and let them to come in. But you just cut me off, right? And then you sit there and you're angry. You're angry for the next 5 minutes of driving. And you might make a mistake yourself. You might cut somebody up yourself. You might have to change lanes because you weren't focusing on where you should have been. Because guess why? You're thinking about what happened at the traffic lights 5 minutes ago. Do you see what I'm talking about? Same sort of principle with a child that put a hand up and got the sum wrong. It's the same thing. You are working yourself up about something that has passed. And what we need to learn to do is go, that happened, it's gone. Bang, gone. And if we can get that in the car, where we just go, oh well, then your children will be much better drivers. Because I'm telling you, children who are drivers and passengers of cars where there's been lots of angry, lots of swearing, lots of why did they do that and how dare they? That's the sort of drivers they're going to be because they've copied what you do. That's just by nature. So past experiences. So we said uncertainty and lack of control, development of fears that are obviously age related, past experiences, things that, like I said, fear, embarrassment, change, anything like that. Environmental stress, which could be like a pressure, an external pressure. So, sports day, you're not a great runner, you're not really going to be in the sports team, and you know that you're expected to represent your house or your class or your team or whatever it is, and you don't want to let them down, and all of those things will stress you out. They'll get you going. Conflict. I tell you now, children that live in a house where there's always arguing, there's always conflict, there's always arguments, there's always, instead of going to the situation where you'd like to think they'd want to go to a home of calm. They want to go to a home of no conflict. They want to go to a home of, I don't want to be like that, my parent. Unfortunately, you just mimic what you learn, what you know, and you become a house of the same conflict. So conflict is a real environmental stress. And overstimulation, and I'm just going to say, I'm not going to go on about it, but IT equipment is a great example of this. Overstimulation, constant 3-minute videos, constant looking at computers, iPads, phones, be it whatever, gadgets, software. These social media companies that now find themselves in all kinds of hot water for being the cause of stress and environmental stress. And that is an external stress. Now, I know that bringing up children isn't easy. But bringing up children today, when you're fighting every single day about how much screen time, how much they've been on the phones, why there's no phones at the dinner table, why there's an argument, we're going out for dinner, no phone policy, and everyone's screaming and shouting because dad's got his phone out, but dad's working and is answering an email. But that doesn't matter, because guess what? We've now got a problem. Because ultimately, dad's on the phone, why can't we be? Children need to learn that adults are the adults. And if the adult says, I need to be on the phone because of X, Y, and Z reason, then they do. It's not for you to question. It certainly isn't for you to then add to the stress of the situation. That is mimicking again. And mimicking is so hard to argue against, because a child just, it's okay for you to do it, why can't I? Very difficult, and it makes life hell. I know there are families up and down the country, in every country where there are access to these gadgets, having this argument every day. And it's bad enough trying to bring children up without that as well. I think one of the other ones that I think is quite interesting, and this is where I get into a bit of a 2 and 8 with myself. Psychology says responsibility and fear of getting things wrong can create the highest level of anxiety there is. So responsibility and fear of getting things wrong. So take this book or file and hand it in to reception. Give it to Miss Smith. Okay, no problem. Child goes down to reception. I've got to hand this to Miss Smith. Oh, Miss Smith's not here at the moment. She's on break. Oh, I'll wait for her. No, it's okay. I can take it. No, you're not Miss Smith. I was told to give it to Miss Smith. Because you're being very literal, because you're listening to what instruction you were given, you don't want to do it wrong. Now, if the other lady says, I work with Miss Smith, we do the same job, it's perfectly fine, don't worry, you're going to be like, I've got to go back to the teacher and tell her I didn't give it to Miss Smith. I gave it to someone else. Okay, I'm going to sit and wait for Miss Smith. So you miss half the lesson because you waited for Miss Smith. When you give it to Miss Smith says it would have been perfectly okay to have given it to the other lady. Well, she didn't tell me that. And that's very often many children. And this is nothing to do with ADHD, ADD, or autism or anything else. We as children are very literal. We do as we are physically told to do, right? To the letter most of the time. So in that situation, that pressure of getting it wrong would have sent that child into such a spiral. Do I wait? Don't I wait? Should I stay? Should I not go? If I go back now and tell her I didn't give it to Miss Smith, will I be in trouble? If I'm missing my lesson, am I going to be in trouble? I mean, what would have been drop it off and run You know, it's turned into half an hour of chaos. And now you've got to walk back in the room not knowing if you've done the right thing. Because should I have waited or should I not? You know? And when the teacher says, where the hell have you been? I've been wondering where you got to. And you go, oh, well, I was waiting for Miss Smith. Well, why didn't you just hand it in? Because you said to hand it to Miss Smith. Do you see what I mean? It's like an additional pressure that you add without realising it. And that should have been handed into reception. Job done, right? And then handed in, bosh, back to the classroom. And it doesn't take much to be not non-specific, but general. Be more general in your ask. And then that child wouldn't have spent all that time getting themselves on a right to an 8. And now every time they get asked to do something, they're going to remember what happened the last time and think, oh, what if I get it wrong this time? What if I don't remember what to do? What if I hang about in the wrong place? What if this? What if that? Seems silly, but they're the sort of things that really mess with children's minds. Time, financial and social pressures. Time is a nightmare for some parents. Getting kids out the door, to get on the school bus, to get them ready to go to drop them off at school, to get them just to walk to school. They've got to be out the door at a certain time to do a certain thing. That is such a huge external pressure because there is a constraint. It has to happen. You've got to be out here by such and such a time. Or if you've only got one bathroom and there's 4 kids trying to use it, they're all trying to wash their teeth because they all know they've got to wash their teeth before. But dad's in the bathroom having a number 2, taking longer than he needs to, and probably playing on his phone. And the kids are all queuing up outside. Mum says, bring your toothbrushes out and wash in the downstairs kitchen sink. Can't. Dad's locked the door. Now we've got a whole 2 and 8 going on between mum and dad about, can you pass the toothbrushes and the toothpaste out, right? And it all becomes a big thing. We're making problems for ourselves, right? If you make the kitchen sink the place where they wash their teeth, that's never an issue. Because all 4 of them, 2 at a time, can probably wash their teeth at the kitchen sink, and then you can give it a thorough clean afterwards. It's not a dirty thing to do. Okay, you're spitting in the sink, but you're going to give it a thorough clean, and the kids get out the door on time. No one's shouting at each other. No one's screaming at the dad to hurry up and have his number 2, and the problem's over. It's just silly things like this. And I say silly, but they're not silly to children. Time constraints are massive. Financial. When they hear you say, we can't go to the park because we can't afford to. You can't have that pair of trainers because we don't have the money. Instead of saying to them, we are having to pay extra money at the moment because of what's going on with the war and everything. So that's all they need to know, that the war is costing money. End of. So oil is more expensive, petrol more expensive, diesel more expensive, food is more expensive. Things are a bit tighter at the moment, but don't worry, we've got it under control. But what we can't do is splash out on days out. We can't splash out on new trainers just yet. But as soon as we can, we will. Or we're not in a position to do that right now, but it's your birthday coming up soon. When everybody gives you your birthday money, I bet there'll be enough to get the trainers then. Think of ways in which you can make it happen for them without them hearing that there is a big financial worry in the house. Because when you think you've just said a couple of words, they will go away and be thinking, oh my gosh, we could be on the streets. This happened to my friend's family, and they ended up on the streets, and they ended up with no home, and boom. No trainers means on the streets. So we have to give them the stages so that we don't allow them to go straight to, if you say 0 to 100, they're living at 100. And when they hear other people talking and they hear other conversations about what's going on in their families, that plays on repeat in their minds too. So you're not just competing with what's going on in your own home, you're competing with what they're hearing at school.
Ooh, what's gone wrong? Something's gone wrong somewhere. Is it Paulette's device? Is it my device? I have no clue. No, I'm still plugged in last time I looked. I'm still connected last time I looked. Oh, no idea what gives. Right. Oh, do I refresh? No.
Oh,
She's
there
back.
you are. You're back.
We lost you for a second. I was thinking,
Oh,
hey, is it me? Is it you?
I never went anywhere. I was still chatting. Did we get to the 6-7 t-shirt?
No.
How long have I been gone?
About 30 seconds.
Okay. So what I was talking about was the trainers, right?
Yes.
And the children not being able to afford, the parents saying they couldn't afford the trainers. Maybe they, at Christmas or birthdays, everybody can put the money together and we'll get the trainers then. So you stop making it all about the families in dire straits, because the family might not be, we're just struggling because times are tough. And that's what we need to explain. It's not we're going to be on the streets by next Friday. And their minds will go there if they know a friend who has become homeless, or they know of a family that have broken up and they've ended up with all kinds of issues, living in hostels, had to change schools. They've heard all sorts of stories. So you don't want them to think of that as a huge financial pressure. You just reframe it that says, we can't do it today, but we might be able to do it at your birthday or by Christmas. I just said, let's say there's a t-shirt, 6-7 t-shirt. Everyone's going on at 6-7, 6-7. Oh, I want a 6-7 t-shirt. We can't afford a 6-7 t-shirt right now. But you know what? Let's see how we get on at the end of next month. Let's give ourselves another couple of months and we might be able to afford it. Thinking by the time that you can afford it, chances are 6-7 will have moved on and you'll be on something else. So, let's try and just push the idea out of their minds, because everybody's this keeping up with the Joneses stuff going on at adult level. Remember that. This goes on when we get out into the real world. This goes on in so many different ways. People judge their house, they judge their cars, they judge what they look like, how they look like. Are they thin? Are they fat? Do they need a facelift? Do they have saggy eyes? Have they got this? How many lines have they got? Everything you could imagine can be judged, gets judged as an adult. We don't want the children doing it to themselves or by each other, to each other. So if you try and teach your child not to be like that, then hopefully they equally, you teach one, they teach one. That's kind of how it works. So comparison is always it's very difficult to handle. It's difficult for us to handle. So for children, it can be very hard. And there will always be one kid that's got everything because their family are very well off. And you know what? You just have to turn around sometimes and say, "What? They're very lucky, aren't they?" That's it. They're very lucky. But we've got love in our house. Well, they might have love in their house too. Well, they might. But you know what? I think love's more important than anything else. So let's focus on what we've got. We've got fun and we've got love. Yeah, that's important. We can just reframe things, move them away from the £200 trainers that are really not worth 200 quid. When we use certain tones in our voices, we can make a child anxious. So I can't cope with shouting. I'll be quite honest and upfront about it. I don't cope well with shouting. I was brought up in a house with a lot of big, angry, shouty voices. And if I hear shouting, if I'm in a pub or in an event or something, I'm like, I go straight into vigilant. Where's it coming from? I'm like a ninja. I want to know all the details. How close is it to me? Do I need to run? I'm straight on that fight and flight thing. We do that sometimes by being short and sharp with people. We don't mean to. As adults, we do it by giving even you. It's really funny. Someone said something to me the other day, and I said, the tone of your message was blah. How do you know what my tone of my message was? It's just words. How can you know how words have got a tone? And I was like, oh gosh, yeah. It's just how I read it. I read it wrong. I read it in a bad mood. Guess what? I transferred my bad mood to those words on that message. Do you understand how easy it is for us to do it? It's the same for the children. The difference is with children, they've not got our experiences to put us right. So if we say, never, ever cross the road without an adult next to you, appropriate to 4, 5, 6-year-old maybe. But as you get older, you have to be able to say, this is a crossing, this is how it works, this is what you do. Now I'm going to step back, I'm going to watch you do it. You're ready to jump in if needs be. But at some point you have to trust that they can press a button, wait for it to go to a green light, and then cross the road, right? We used to have the green cross code over here. It was a massive big thing. And everybody knew the green cross code when I was a child. But that tone and body language, you also have to be careful that you're not overprotective, i.e., you're never going to cross the road, not even until you're 21. I'm going to be right by your side, Of course you're not. You're going to let your kid go off to college, you're going to let your kid go off to school, you're going to let your kid go off and develop and grow and all the things they need to do. But at a certain level, you have to have some control. What we don't want to do is let children be fearful of the roads to the point where they don't ever want to cross a road, because roads kill people. You don't want to put the fear of God in them. You want to make them understand that the road is a dangerous thing and that you need to know the rules. If you understand the rules of how to cross the road, you'll never have a problem. If you go jaywalking, as you call it in America, we call it just idiots crossing the road wherever they feel like it, walking around cars and jumping and whatever else, then there will be an accident and that could end up in a bad situation. What we're trying to explain to children is that there are rules. And if you stick to the rules, the road is a safe place. Ditto driving. When we're driving, like I said before, if we don't get all het up and don't show all these emotions and show the children how you are on the road, then you're not going to be passing that on. The message that we give is and should always be that if we say something is unsafe, it's not safe to you to be walking around when it's dark. That's why you have to come home at 4 o'clock before it gets dark. To a child, what happens at 4 o'clock? Do the demons come out? Do the monsters appear? What are we saying that happens at 4 o'clock that is so scary that it gets dark and then something happens, right? Now, we don't want children walking around at 4 o'clock when it's dark because they won't know who's around them. They could be grabbed. It could be unsafe. We don't want them on the roads out there just because we don't. Now, do we need to go into detail? I think what we say is that when it's dark, you should be really indoors, because indoors we know where you are and we can see you. When you're out there in the dark and you got lost, we'd struggle to find you, right? And you don't carry a torch or whatever, so how would we find you, right? Now, you might get a smart aleck 13-year-old go, I got a torch on my phone. I'll phone you if I get lost, you know. You may well get that kind of a comment, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, to the younger ones, you would just turn around and say, the curfew is, and that's the rules. Unsafe, scary, be careful, because you start to make their minds go into this 4 o'clock, the demons come out, right? It's a great story for them to write in English, you know, be able to write about the 4 o'clock demons. But you don't want to be the one that starts setting these scary thoughts into place. All you need to do is say, at 4 o'clock, you need to be home. It's dark. We'd struggle to find you, and that's the rules. When the clocks go back, it's 5 o'clock because you get an extra hour. That's it. Don't go. It's not safe out there. There are people trying to grab you off the streets. You know, the child catcher. You know, we don't want to create those sorts of images, because when we do, they stick. They're the ones that stick like mud. We don't want to do that. When a parent has a stress trigger, like me and the shouting, right? Ben doesn't like shouting. That's my fault, because I didn't like shouting and he never heard shouting. And even if a voice gets raised slightly, I just go, whoa, 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 whoa. No. We can argue quietly. we can argue and discuss something without raising our voices. That's just how it is in our house. We do not raise our voices. And I'm very lucky that I've got a really good man who understands. If I'm in a restaurant or a pub and that there's a flare up or a fight or there's trouble or something's going on, I will, you know, my fingers I'll just become really anxious. My fingers will curl, my toes will curl, and I will just start to get a little bit hyperventilating and a little bit, oh dear, I'm scared, right? Nothing to do with us. We're miles away from where the action is. I mean, gosh, how many times it's happened? I couldn't, probably half a dozen, but enough. We were in London at the fireworks for the millennium. Big fight broke out. Oh my gosh. Charles had to push me into a doorway, literally, and stand in front of me. So he was here, I was behind him, and we stood in a doorway until the various people were throwing things and glass bottles were going back and forwards and God knows what else in London. And eventually it all calmed down and we just made a run for it. We got in a cab and we went straight back to, it didn't even go on the underground or anything like that. We just went straight back to his house and we stayed there. And I was like, I don't think I could have coped with that. I'm so glad that we didn't. And he was like, I knew exactly what to do. It was fine. And he did, right? And that's where I'm saying to you guys, the triggers that I have, he's aware of, he knows what to do. We've worked that between us. Those same triggers would be Ben. Ben would have that trigger because he doesn't like shouting and fighting. The difference is he's 6'2" and would probably be the one that would go in and try and stop it. The peacemaker is not always, I've got to explain to him over and over again that you don't just go in because you never know they're loaded with a knife or something, you know. It's great to be the guy that wants to calm things down, but you just don't know what you're dealing with, right? So, but my stress triggers, I've passed on, certainly, to Ben. And I'm saying that you will pass on to your children without even knowing it. The more reactive I become, the more reactive my child will become. The more I need to take control of a situation, the more they would need to take control of a situation. These things are mirrors. Your children hold a mirror up to you all day long, and they're watching how you react to things, and they then replicate that. If you imagine a loop, okay, and you say to yourself, child anxiety, parent anxiety, child feels less safe, increased anxiety, child anxiety, parent anxiety, child feels less safe, so the loop goes round and round and round. We need to cut the loop, break the loop somewhere, break the chain. And the way that you do that, in a way, is to try and understand what it felt like for you, and then try and stop them feeling that feel. Okay? So something feels wrong. I don't know what to do. We say to children, what would Walter do? What would Walter do? Walter would say, hang on a minute, let's not panic. Let's think of a plan. And Jack's like, hello, should we run over here? Should we do that? Should we go there? And, Jack would be like, let's run in the corner. And then Walter would say, but then we're stuck in the corner and we can't get out. Surely it makes more sense to run somewhere where we can see the door so we can get out if we need to. Oh, yes, a good idea. Let's do that. And it's all your own thoughts. And Jack and Walter are the same person. Jack is subconscious, bit all over the place, and Walter's his thinking mind, is more intuitive mind. We need them to understand that they need to engage that at times, right? Same way we do. Same way we do it all the time without even thinking now. We go straight to our gut feel, straight to our instinct. Don't feel comfortable, this doesn't feel right, something's not okay. They will get to the stage where they will feel like that. And what do they do in the situation? They say, what would Walter do? And that is the time. What would Walter do? It's like four breaths, which is like box breathing. It gives them a chance to just think it through, make a decision, take action. Same with adults. Exactly the same situation. I have no problem with adults walking around saying, what would Walter do? Because at the end of the day, all we're doing is giving ourselves a chance to breathe, think it through, and make a decision. My next one really is about, when I talk about bad behavior in children, I want to talk about that for a second, because sometimes when children are in fight, flight, freeze response, it can be misinterpreted as bad behavior. So a child will see something happen and go into absolute, like, oh my gosh, this is a major problem. I need to, run. I need to do this. I need to do that. And actually, what we're doing is really daft. What we need to do is try and get them to understand that parents, teachers, everybody understand, when you notice a child having that internal dialogue, that internal what would Walter do, let them have that moment to work out what to do, and then go, oh, okay, it's okay, I can go back and sit down. The big bang I heard outside, yes, I didn't need to jump up and run to the door and see what it was, but because I'm not used to hearing big bangs, I needed to. That doesn't make you a bad child for checking. It just makes you somebody who's responding in a certain kind of way. If every child jumped up and ran to the door, granted, you'd have to say, come on guys, everyone sit back down again. Nothing to see here. Which again, still puts that whole fight, flight, freeze moment at ease. All you're trying to do is say, at ease, soldier, everything's okay. Calm down. It's fine. And I think we need to do that more than just assume that because a child has reacted in a certain way, that it's bad behaviour. It could be a reaction to something, and we need to find out why. We need to ask the what would water do question of the child. What made you do that? Oh, okay. Now I know. Now I understand. That's fine. Right? That's the bit about learning people, human behaviours. We're all different. And what you're assuming is bad behaviour is actually reactive behaviour. And that is quite normal and shouldn't be judged. It needs to be understood. So moving on from there, we're nearly finished. Some practical strategies. I'm going to run through these quite quickly because a lot of them you're going to know and you're going to be, oh, come on, Paulette, of course we do that. Of course we would. But nonetheless, you know, I want to make sure I've calmed it all and got it all right. So regulate first, then talk. So regulate yourself, right? What would water do? Calm yourself down. Calm them down. And then calm your tone, because like I told you, tones get misinterpreted. So calm your tone using your slow breathing techniques. Get them to breathe slowly too with you. And then reduce the stimulation of the situation by saying, okay, so what exactly was the issue there? What caused you to run to the door? Oh, it was the bang. Yeah, bangs do that to me too sometimes. Anybody else feel a bit nervous because of that bang? Yeah, hands up. Yeah, we all do. See? Right, back to your seat. Not an issue. Name the feeling. Did you feel scared? I felt scared. Anyone else feel scared? Yeah, it was a bit scary, wasn't it? I must admit, I felt a bit scared. Bosh, dealt with. Normalise without reinforcing a fear. So normalise by saying, bangs are scary, but you're safe in here, you're fine. Now, obviously, in America, there's differences of situations with guns and rules and regulations and all sorts of situations where children have to take certain actions to hide in if there's a shooter or whatever. But those are very different situations, and they will be on point with their education in that situation of what we do when it happens, reinforced on a regular basis, so that in the situation of a shooter, God forbid, a touch wood as well, that means that the children know what to do. You don't let them go to anxiety, don't let them go to fear, you let them go to action. When we get told, we do. That's it. It's an action. Call to action. We need to run. We need to hide. We need to do. Okay? Build tolerance. Encourage small, manageable challenges. Like I said about the road. Yeah? You press the button. Try and cross the road when the green button, when it says it's okay, you cross the road. I'll be just behind you, but you're doing it on your own. And then you stand the other side and let them cross back. And then you step back and let them do it on their own. Small, manageable challenges that give them the independence to learn to grow. Take out that fear, because you're there, you're watching, so they know they're safe. Model calm behaviour. I get laughed at when I talk about this with parents. Oh, you don't live in this life. Oh, bloody phones. Listen, calm behaviour, even when things are difficult. The calmer you can remain, the calmer the situation. So remaining calm at all times keeps the situation under control. Small reactions. Remember what I always used to say, yeah? Little fish, little reaction. Big fish, big reaction. We don't want a shark type of reaction to a little minnow or a tadpole, right? We're talking about making sure that our reactions are matched by the situation. Supporting adults. So I always say to adults, when you're managing your own anxiety, you are modeling how to manage anxiety for your children. So when you say, oh, I just need to sit down, have a cup of tea, put my feet up for 10 minutes. I might even go and put my pajamas on and then I'll do dinner. But let me just have 10 minutes. And everyone goes, let's give mum 10 minutes because she just needs that 10 minutes. And everyone gets it. That's your moment, right? And you might even get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. You might even get one of them, lift your feet up and put them on a little stool, because they will know that mum needs that 5 minutes. And that's a great thing. Modeling great behavior, even though it says, I'm really having a hard day, I'm really quite stressed, I'm having a bit of a, but I just need to let off some steam, guys. Is that all right? Can we start dinner like 10? Is that all right, everybody? Everyone cool with that? Yeah, of course. That's when you're modeling the behavior of somebody who is not trying to pretend that everything is great, not trying to pretend that work isn't stressful, but you are saying, I just need to have these few minutes. There's no harm in that. It's called honesty. Consider approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, I'm a great believer in CBT therapy, and I think that any parent who has ever felt like they need some additional support or tools, CBT is a great way to get them. Do I know that it's available within our system on the National Health? Yeah, but it's hard to get to because, there's a waiting list as long as your arm and then somebody else's arm. Private medical therapy, absolutely easy as pie, you'd get it. And certainly I'm sure you'd get it on insurance in the States. But CBT is a great way of adults learning to handle their own releasing their own stress. Practice activities for you. Now, I know this is going to sound like I'm going back to old school, but role play, right? Scenario, child is anxious, first day of school. One person acts as the anxious child. One person acts as a really nice little child who's going to be really kind to that child and welcome them to their class. Silly little role plays like that can make children really feel like it's going to be okay. Now, we all know I've written books about new school niggles and new home nerves. We know why I've written those books, because they're the most scariest things for children. It's the biggest change in their lives, right? If buying a house is number one in the list of stressful things for adults to do, moving house is hugely stressful, and then children have to deal with that. So, having those books is so important. So, New House Nerves, Jack and Morty and New House Nerves helps children understand that it's going to be okay. New School Niggles shows children it's going to be okay. But doing a bit of role playing, toing and froing doesn't hurt, right? It just makes them feel that little bit more confident when they walk into school. I always say to children, imagine you're a tree. Stand up and imagine you're a tree. And they'd look at me and go, I'm saying, no, I'm not talking about your branches. I'm talking about your roots. All right? I want you to bury your roots in the ground as if you're a tree. Imagine how strong you're going to feel. And then they say, oh, yeah, I feel quite strong. How strong is your tree? And I'll come over and I'm going to prod you with a finger. If you wobble, you're not a strong tree. And we play a game. And when we finish playing that game, I say to them, the next time something happens where you feel a little bit anxious, a little bit nervous, a bit stressed, a little bit fearful, I want you to think of yourself as a tree. Plant your feet like a tree and watch how confident you become. And then you can ask water, what would water do? Breathe. Think of a plan. Execute the plan. I think safe words have become a thing that's quite important now. If a child has a safe word, and that can be a safe word in class with the teacher, it can be a safe word with a parent, it can be a safe word with whoever is needed, guardians or people that pick them up from school or whatever. A safe word being, I'm feeling absolutely bubbling up and scared witless. I need to have a release. I need to go to the bathroom, or I just need to get out of this environment for 2 minutes, wash my face, calm myself down, or go to the office and sit with the people there, or go to the sick bay. That safe word system, people have yellow cards, red cards, a bit like a school type, sort of football match type thing, or people have like, the safe word where they might just say exit. Exit's a word that I've heard used, which means I need to go now. And the teacher goes, okay, fine. Everybody knows exit means they need 5 minutes. That's fine. And these will be written into their rules, their regulations on paperwork. Every teacher, everybody within the school system would know that. The parents would, everybody knows exit is their word. But I can't cope with the situation, or I'm feeling I'm going to spiral. And to stop you spiraling, you use the word exit. And that's all it takes to get that situation back under control. So my key takeaways for you today are really to think about your own anxieties, think about how you feel, remember that feeling inside, that's how they're feeling. Children don't need to have a stress-free life, okay? That's not a real world life. Children don't need a stress-free life. They just need a calm, steady adults who show them that you can feel anxious but still be safe. Okay, Annie, my lecture has finished. Silence is golden.
You sure? No, informative for sure.
Listen, I really hope that the reason I do these rooms is so that a parent or anybody who is involved with children goes away with something. And I hope I've covered enough that there's something good in there for everybody.
Of course, sir. No, you can't. I made loads of notes, so but let me calm myself down first. Let's see what our friends are saying. So, Mark, welcome. I see you. Glad you're here, Mrs. Cyrus. How are you doing? He says, are you guys okay? We are. So we're glad you're here. Cyrus, what's happened to our masterclass? You better hurry up, mate. I've booked 2 more since I spoke to you. We're going to do a branding masterclass. So, I think that is part of the things in life that we need to learn. As well as our topic today. So, it's best indicator for desirability of a child's home is the amount of trust and of rush they're in to get to it. Yeah. Yeah. Well. A home is a home, right? And we always build a home in the end. And I say, that's what a home is, right? Miss Halavine, I see, of course, you're in the studio. Thank you for joining us. I'd love to hear your thoughts in a second. So we have Marsha here as well. This woman does more than me these days on lives. Yeah, I am on a hiatus, to be fair. Yeah, I'm here, but Paulette knows I'm doing other things at the same time. But Marsha is everywhere. We're just spreading goodness and kindness to everyone.
She is. She's an angel.
And that's how I called her Links an angel all those years ago from time, right? Yeah, she more than lives up to it. So listen. I think about a few scenarios. Oh my goodness, they shall replicate, and also us as children, we did the same. It's so true, right? Passing our fears to our kids is one of our biggest drawbacks. Hello, Coach Carrie. That's another one who does more event on me these days. She has 2 shows, Carrie Connect, and there's another one she does, which is more about clarity. Yeah, and she has great guests, and I do connect with her. I do go along to her shows for sure. But thank you for joining us. I know for US friends, Paulette, it's too early, right? So, Jim, it's not early for you. It's not early for me. It's evening here in our lives, right? So, Jim's watching from Kenya. So I have shared the Restream link. So if you want to join us tonight to share, then feel free. So you have to copy the link from here to your browser if you want to join us. Otherwise, I'm sure like Alavine, the link is on the comments section of the event page. So I'd love to hear from you and love to hear your thoughts. I'm quite chill today, Paulette. So
yeah.
Yeah,
Rose.
yeah, I haven't got a show afterwards. This is no, it's not just Leslie, right? This is my AI magician, is what I call her.
Hey, I'm glad she was here to hear me.
Yeah,
excellent.
And so you can see we've had a conversation, Leslie Rose. So we are gonna arrange a call. My friends, AI is here. I mentioned it at the beginning. Leslie Rose knows what that means and how to implement that in business. That's why we are doing events in the weeks coming up, and then hopefully, you can start getting customers from AI too. So there's a link again, because just to make sure without the words, Professor Roxana is here.
Hey, hi.
This is an educator, probably one of the best there is, and a YouTube star as well for teaching maths and finance to adults. And I don't know why I'm showing Alavin. Alavin is here, right? An ancient sentence says, "Man, know yourself, and you will know the universe and its gods." Is that so true, right? So teaching our children to know themselves would help them. In the meantime, we also need to know how we are as well. Yeah, we do. And the last but not no, there's other comments I saw. Happened to come across this talk. Thank you. And I don't know who LinkedIn user is. Hopefully it's Annie. I think it's Annie. It could be someone else, to be fair. I saw an amazing comment from Jane earlier. I'm scrolling up to go and see. No, it's on my LinkedIn. It's not on here, which is really frustrating. But I'll find it today. But no, let's hear from Alavine. Alavine, how are you doing? You're muted. Yay!
Hello.
Please, how are you doing? Share.
I'm happy to be there. I'm good. Lately I was quite upset with this app because I couldn't come on stage. Every time when I reached this stage, it was like, okay, now it's okay. You have to get kicked out. So I was kicked out so many times lately. So now I'm happy. I'm with you. So I'm good. Hope you too. And that's it for now.
I loved your comment, Alavine, that said we have to know ourselves before we can help our children know themselves too. You're so right.
Yes.
You are so right. That's exactly the message today. Is
Yes.
whatever we are and whoever we are, we pass that on. And if we're anxious, we're going to have anxious children. So that's a great message.
Right.
Yes.
I agree. There's a comment from Jane. And let me try and see if it works. Yeah, it work, whether it will show up. So Jane said,
Go ahead.
there's no background, right? I've learned that people will forget what you said. People forget what you did, but people don't forget how you made them feel. Isn't that so true, right? And she says, I think it's okay for you to explain the reasons why it's unsafe for being out at 4 a.m. These reasons involve with age. Decreased visibility means higher risk of getting lost or getting hit by a driver. I think you mentioned a bit of that, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean the thing that goes to most parents' mind is the children might get snatched, the children might get grabbed. But if you say that to a child, that means that at 3:45
What's the
they'll
background?
be absolutely terrified. They're not going to get home in that 15 minutes before the shower catcher comes out, right? So you have to be really mindful that when you when you say stuff like I just said, like, oh, 4 o'clock is the deadline, because it makes them think that at 4 o'clock, everybody's out to get them. And God forbid that 3:45 they're legging it home,
Is Teddy asleep beside you?
No, he's asleep out there.
Okay, he's the one I can hear snoring. That's all right. That's Teddy for you. Teddy loves a good snore, and I'm
That's
on
my
Teddy.
dog, guys.
No, it's not my dog. Ted's out there snoring.
Anyway, no. Okay, now
Teddy's
how you
getting
doing?
the
How you
blame.
doing,
Teddy's getting
Magician
the
Leslie?
blame.
That's all right. No, it's fine. How you
I'm
doing?
doing good, and I apologize. That is my dog, and I don't hear
Okay,
it
that's
anymore,
cool.
but he's
Okay.
lying right beside me, snoring his face off.
I thought I was losing my mind. So that's why now I'm muting myself,
Yeah.
muting that ravine. I'm like, ooh,
Sorry.
that's why I had to speak in the end, right? No, really. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
look.
I just wanted, I wanted to talk about anxiety and raising kids, and I've raised my kids now. My youngest one is 25, and I made so many mistakes. And I've learned so much, in the last, I don't know, 10 years, I guess, because my kids were teenagers and older teenagers, and we had so many problems. And I wish I knew all of these things before I raised my kids. Like, how do you get the knowledge before you raise your kids? I don't know. I mean, I know that I did the best that I could with the information that I had at the time.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, I wish someone taught me how to raise my kids properly before I raised them.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing that would there are books about it, by the way. There's books about parenting books out there. There's many of them. There's programs, but we always say no one teaches us how to be parents apart from our parents, usually. And that's the part of the conversation today. Let's welcome Queen Leah. Where's Queen Leah? So Queen Leah is our finance genius, our wealth building genius that there is. If you want to build wealth, she's the one you want to talk to for sure. We all made mistakes, she says, almost as if she knows what you're gonna say. For sure. Look, here's one thing I would say. I guess let's do Jane's comment, which I think is important as well in the scheme of things. Jane says, "I've learned that people will forget." No, not that one. Not that one. Okay, there's a bit towards the end. I don't know what happened there. My copy didn't copy. So let's try
Whilst you're doing this, I'm just going to say that quote by Maya Angelou is one of the most poignant things that I used to have written on my book when I was doing my psychology exams, because I think it's so important and I think it's so true to this day. Every single interaction you have with people, it doesn't matter what it's about, whether you're thanking somebody for serving you at the counter, or whether it's somebody's putting gas in your car, or whether it's the person who's put a new tire on for you. If you make every one of those people feel like they were the most important job they did that day was for you, and you thank them profusely for it, right? I really appreciate you making my car safe. Thank you. They'll be like, oh my gosh, I made that car safe. Look at me. Woohoo! They'll be standing like a tree and feeling good about themselves, right? And when they go home, you're never going to guess, I had a client today actually thanked me, right? It's like a bloody shock, and it shouldn't. It should be the way we are. Somebody thanks somebody at the cash till. Somebody pays for a coffee for somebody. It's like this massive, great big thing that happened. Somebody bought me a coffee. I bought a coffee.
Someone bought me a coffee.
Not us,
Well, not us.
but
Okay.
we're different. But I remember buying a nurse. I bought a nurse a coffee and a cake when she was standing. We were just waiting to go to the hospital appointment. We had a coffee first. We were early. She went to pay, and I said, "No, this is on me. Thank you." And she was in her uniform. She just looked at me, and I smiled, and I said, "Thank you for what you do." She was like,
it's still in shock,
looking around for a camera. She's
looking
around for somebody to go, ping, got you,
You've been
and
pranked.
And then I said to Charles, she'll go upstairs and tell the other nurses, you're never going to believe it. I said, there'll be a queue down here in a minute waiting for me to pay. But the point was, it's such a shock and it's so unusual. Now, you know, it doesn't have to be pay for their coffee, but just thanking them. By the way, just so you know, I really appreciate everything you do. While you're in the queue, waiting behind the nurse, you tell her you appreciate her. She's going to go upstairs and say, this woman thanked
This
me
crazy
in
one.
the queue for just being a nurse, you know? It doesn't have to be financial. It can be just a lovely comment that makes them feel good about themselves.
See, that's the end of Jane's comment. Another comment by Jane. She says it's important to teach them to have a gratitude mindset. You know, they focus on what they lack and what when they're grateful. I agree. Look, I think this is a huge topic, and I think many people live in the worst pain possible, Paulette, when it comes to worry and anxiety. They really do.
Yeah.
I know about everything. You know, everything. You know, maybe the biggest extreme, big example I see is when people around me they have to do something, whatever it is. You know, they have to go and move something in the garage. They have to write a letter. They have to do something, right? And they go into a bad mood. You're like, why are you being like that? You know, and they go into a stinking mood until it's done because they're worrying about it. I'm like, like you said, there's rules, and the first rule is control your emotions. You know, you're gonna get it done anyway. Do it with a smile. Tell yourself that you're grateful that you get to do this thing. That's what I do. You know, and literally, that the gratitude is it's not a thank you, and it's a feeling that comes with it. It's a reality. You change your physiology. You can't be anxious if you're grateful.
There is a science, and as I said, I'm not getting into it today because when you start talking about cortisol and things like that, people go, "Oh, she's getting all sciencey." I'm not going to get sciencey. I'm just going to say that the good feelings, the feelings that make you feel good, right? Those good feelings that you feel, you pass on to the person that you made feel good, right? And then when they go upstairs and tell the rest of the nurses, you're never going to believe it, somebody thanked us for being a nurse. And they'd be like, well, they thanked you just for wearing a uniform? And like, yep, she just said thank you to me for what I do. And they were like, but that's because we do a good job. Then they're all walking around feeling like, this uniform matters, right? And your one comment spread. The ripple effect is unbelievable. Now, the ripple effect can be equally as negative. When I was in charge of a large number of people, if I had been going through something, I don't know, I'd just been in a meeting with the big bosses, they'd kicked my backside for something, and I was grumpy as hell, right? And they're all laughing and joking in the office, and I'd walk in, and apparently if my face is like thunder, the whole room would go, boom, and it would be like a ripple effect of, quick, back to our desks, look busy, she's in a foul mood, blah, right? And then I'd go into my room and shut my office door, and I'd be like seething. And normally I used to pick up a pen and I'd write swear words down, loads of swear words, all the things I wanted to say in the meeting but couldn't, and I'd just write them all down. And then when I'd finished, I'd screw them all up and chuck them in the bin, right? God forbid anyone ever opened them. They just did the most atrocious things, words that a lady wouldn't normally say. But somebody would knock on my door and they'd go, would you like a coffee? Bought your coffee. And they'd bring me a coffee in, right? And I've got a coffee. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And that's all it would take. Someone opening that door, bringing me in a coffee, me writing swear words out on a bit of paper, getting all that emotion out so that I'm in control. And then I'd walk out and say, so, everyone, how's it going today? And they'd be like, she's back again. She's back in the room. Right?
Yeah.
And it's the most amazing thing that one person could change a whole dynamic of a room of, like 100 people, a trading room, because of my persona would be the person in charge is in a foul mood. She could pass it on to us. I never did it. Never. But the point is, you don't realize that ripple effect it has. So in a positive way, it happens, and it happens in a negative way too.
So I do like, Mary Jane's comment, being kind makes the world a better place.
100%. 100%.
That is so true. Right. So again, many things you said earlier. You say, do I feel lucky? Well, yeah, I do feel lucky because it's just, I took a chill pill years ago, and I wasn't mocked. I was always, cited. When I was at school, my school reports were always, he's so laid back. It could be, it could fall over playing football. I'm like, yeah. How I can run around and say we laid back? But I didn't get right. I don't get riled by anything. I just choose not to. Because I choose not to because it's pointless. If you ask me, right? I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do anyway. And like you said earlier, have a plan, deliver the plan. Every situation, what am I gonna do is what I ask myself. What am I gonna do? And then
what you do, Eddie, is you say, what would Walter do?
Yes.
That's what you do. Remember that, sir.
I remember that.
You don't realise it, but that's what you're doing.
You see, but I pass it on to my son. I remember, like, even when he was like 3 or 4, how are you? And just as you actually talk to a kid, and they were like, great, having the best day. You're like, calm down. But he's learned that from me, just being this jolly prat that I am, right? But now he's just, nothing riles him, nothing at all. You can try all you like. It's, yes, he does his fighting things, kung fu and judo and all those things that he does. But it doesn't do it. It doesn't get excited. We're not excitable people. We're just not. I'm the jerk in the murk. Literally, I just think I own the whole road. Nothing happens. Just me at peace. If you just want to speed past me, go for it. Maybe your wife's giving birth to a baby. I don't know. It's not my problem. I've never stuck a finger up at anyone. Really not. I have no interest. I don't even know it's they're there. If you get a little excited, I'm just gonna drive straight past you and carry on driving. Right. I'm saying we need to learn that not everything is a problem. If you're late, no one's ever died because you were late. Really not. Again, I've learned to flip that around these days. I read too many books, right? I saw something in a book that says, if you're late, don't go into the meeting and say, sorry, I'm late. Go into the meeting and say, thank you for waiting. So now it's my gratitude, rather than being blame and guilt. So we need to learn how to control those emotions, Paulette. You're muted.
For sure we do. And yeah, no, my finger wasn't put on it. No, for sure we do. But also we also have to be aware that whatever emotions we are showing, like Ben's got a friend whose parents, like if you put the two of them in a car, it would be like a comedy show. They're like, I told you to turn left. No, which left? That left. Oh, you missed the left. You're this. And this poor child would sit in the back of the car, like absolutely in pieces, right? And they'd arrive at the parties always late, as you say, but instead of being, we're all waiting for them, the kids are all in their kayaks, all on the water or on their water boards or whatever it is they're doing, and they're all kneeling and learning how to do it, and the kids not even got changed because they're that late, right? Then it's everybody's fault because we didn't give them the right instructions. They didn't everybody got the same postcode, but apparently they got a different one. And they blame everything and everybody, and they'd be such foul tempered they couldn't even sit together. They'd have to go and sort of separate at the arrival when they got to the party. and she'd be like steaming in one room, and he'd be steaming somewhere else with the men. And the poor kid gets out there on the water, and he's gibbering wreck, right? And he got bought a car for his 17th birthday, and he'd failed his theory test a few times because he's a nervous wreck. Anything to do with cars, nervous wreck. They bought him a car. He had a few lessons. I don't want to do it. I can't do it. I don't want to be in a car. I don't want to drive. Get rid of the car. Sell it.
So sad.
Because they've made him such a nervous wreck in the car. The idea of driving is terrifying. And I said to Ben, you know what? In years to come, maybe 5 years or so, he will be living on his own in a different environment with a much chilled out, home life. And he'll just say, do you know what? I think I might learn to drive. But it won't be with his parents breathing that. I mean, you could never have gone out with one of those parents. Not a chance as a child driver.
Not that crashing.
No. Ben used to say, Ben went on holiday with him, and he was like, never again. Don't ever make me do that again, Mum. Never again. Like every time we got in the car to go somewhere, to go to a restaurant or something, there'd be another argument, And it's just that's the environment that child has grown up in. He doesn't want to be in a car with them. He doesn't want, and he used to say, my parents are dysfunctional. I used to think, from a 12-year-old, from a 12-year-old, my parents are dysfunctional, and I just used to laugh. And he'd go like to Ben, why can't my parents be like your parents? Like, they're so dysfunctional. And I just used to laugh myself off, because not only had he learned the right word, he used it in the right context for the right people. But we could never say that.
So I'm looking at
that is about growing up and learning.
Exactly. No, I think the thing is the growing up bit. As Quilia says, I never listened to Dr. Spock, who said, "Let your baby cry." And, oh gosh, that was terrible advice. I'm sure it was. Sometimes you have to let the baby cry. Sometimes. I've had three. We've got 3 kids, so I know. You can't always jump. But that's I think it's about knowing the situation you're in. It's about being a bit, taking a moment.
If you know the baby is clean because you've changed its nappy, if you know your baby is fed because you've just fed it and you've burped it and you've got rid of any wind, and the baby is just craving some attention, and you've got 55 things you have to do, then the baby might have to either be in one of those papooses or something, or it's going to have to be with you, but in its, carry whatever it is, but in a room, right? And the most important part of this story would be that your baby can be with you, but doesn't have to be on you, because otherwise, literally, your life becomes attached to the baby. And that doesn't mean that you'll have a dysfunctional child when you grow up. It just means that you have to live your life too. And like when babies go to bed at night, they learn after 3 nights. Then no one's coming. It's not because they don't love me, because in the morning they show me so much love or whatever. So it's not they don't love me. It's just that it's nighttime. And gradually that's how children learn routines. But letting a child just cry continually without knowing why, there's a reason. Children don't just cry for attention non-stop. They cry because they're in pain. They cry because they've got a problem. And that's why I don't agree with letting babies cry. But I do know that you have to make sure that you've done all your checks, and if you've checked everything and there's nothing wrong and they don't appear to be in pain, then it's just attention. And they're being little beasts, and you just have to tell them, Mummy has got to do this, because otherwise there won't be any money for paying for the bills. So we just got to get on with a bit of work, And it's about rules and regulations within our own families.
It is, right. I think also it's about trusting you. Life's about trusting yourself.
Yeah, really. And your instinct and your gut.
And your abilities. Really, I think a lot of people, like you said it earlier, part of the reason we feel so anxious is because we're in new situations.
Yes.
I was listening to Shawn Michael today, I listen to Shamaka every bloody day because he has YouTube videos and stuff. And I'm like, they're friends. I'm obliged to watch them. And ask him, we'll tell you I comment on all of them as well, right? No, but his thing was that, you are where you work so hard to be. So you're going to face new things. And those new things are just your new normal. Get used to it. Embrace it, because a lot of people will get to that situation. They get a promotion, for example. Let's use that as an example, right? And then they start getting miserable and depressed and anxious because they don't know what they're doing. Number one, it's not what they expected. It feels odd. It feels weird because it feels new, right? They don't know whether they're going to do the right thing, wrong thing. I'm saying, what you don't drive yourself crazy. Calm yourself down and appreciate that in life, new situations are normally a sign of progress. And we need to embrace this moment. And I love that feeling of first timeness. I love the feeling of because I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make mistakes. Of course I am. But I'm going to learn. And then I'm going to be comfortable with my skin in that situation. You said practice earlier. I said to real life is not practice. Real life is doing in real life consequences, right? But I think we need to trust ourselves.
Yeah, we do.
We got this. A spider's not going to eat you. A mouse is not going to eat you. They never have. Some Australian spiders kill. But I'm saying, when I had mice running around the house, but I know Paulette's going to freak out. And I go, oh, mice! That's Paulette's. No, that's Paulette's bogey, right? Mine's ejections. Okay, no, we've all got our quirks. But let's minimize those. Let's not make a general anxiety our way of living. Trust yourself. You got this. Injections. No, I have injections regularly when I have to, and it doesn't kill me. I've just learned to just say, okay, get on with it. Do it quick. Let me not see it. Yeah, right? It's the same in life. Trust yourself to be able to, you've got this.
And like with the car situation, if Annie says like, is Mr. Calm, somebody cuts him up, he goes, well, maybe they're in a hurry, whatever. That is a really great way to be, because that means you're not letting somebody else steal your thunder. You're not letting somebody else steal your joy, right? And a joy thief is somebody who comes in, causes you a momentary or a moment of anxiety that becomes a momentary blip. And then that blip keeps playing on repeat in your mind. And then before you know where you are, that little tiny blip becomes the thing that you remember all day long, was when that person did that thing. And it was such they jumped the queue in the coffee, in the coffee room. And you were all waiting for a coffee machine, and we're all waiting patiently. And someone comes in and just blips in there, and you go, well, didn't anyone say anything? And they're like, no, why not? Oh, everyone was too frightened to. Why? Because they're a bit ratty. Oh, so that means because they're ratty, they get to jump the queue. Good job, I wasn't in the queue. I make sure next time they go in the coffee room, I follow them, right? And I make sure that I'll stand right near them. And when they start to go towards, excuse me, the queue's here. And they won't do it again.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe that you don't let somebody else step over the mark. The mark is whatever you think is. Your boundary is your boundary. But I don't like bullies. I don't like people that think they are better than other people. And I don't like people that make other people have blips. Because if you're having a good day, then nobody deserves to mess that day up, right? So just by jumping the coffee queue, they could blip that day. So don't let them. So now that person won't do it again because they now know I'm onto them. And so, I think that's where we are with kids, If we just know that something's bothering them but just instinctually, we know instinctively something is bothering that child, you can just say, hey, everything okay today? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. You can always talk to me, don't you? That's the best line in the world. You can always talk to me about anything, right? Even if it's me, right? That's the best line ever. Even if it's me. Of course, I don't do anything wrong, you'd say jokingly. But if it's me you want to talk about, that's fine. Make it lighthearted. Make it feel like fun. Make it feel like it's okay. And you know what? That child will just pour out. They'll pour out all their information, everything that's bothering them, get it off their chest, tell you what it is, and then you make your plan. It's
You
always
see,
about making the plan.
you see, but like, even a situation like that, Paulette, right? Like when it comes to our kids, especially, you know, they, they have to practice
Yeah.
that experience. We have to practice too.
Mm.
You know, so I guess my point is, you know, we don't just turn up and say, right, tell me your problems, and they'll tell you their problems. You know what I'm saying, you have to spend time with them.
Of course.
Like,
But
show
when
you.
when you say to them, tell me your problems, you're not saying, tell me your problems and I'll fix it. What you're
Mm,
saying is, tell me your problems and we'll try and work out a plan together on
for
how to
sure,
solve it.
for
That's the
sure,
key. It's
for
about
sure.
working together to solve
Yeah.
it, not mum picking the phone up and having a go at the person who's causing you
Mm.
problems. You
Yeah,
know, it's not
I
a
agree.
solution.
I agree. Alavine, I wonder, you know, how do you, you know, are you an anxious person? What, you know, what do you want to add to our conversation? What can we learn from the way you handle
Let's
anxieties?
say, my former job was working with babies and children under 6 years old. Okay, and I want to say something about letting a baby cry. Okay, that is bad because when you let a baby cries too much, you create a lot of damage in their brain. And you know, a brain of a baby, let's say, the brain is not completely complete at 3, but before 3 it is like you have something very like an embryo. Okay, and let's say a baby needs to cry, he needs to communicate, and that is normal. But if you let the baby cry too much, maybe beyond 10 minutes like that, okay, this baby, beyond the fact that he will not know what's going on, it is damaging his brain, his neurons, etc. So we should never let a baby cry too much. Okay, that is the first things I want to say. Another thing about this room, about children, we need to respect their boundaries when they are little. And I'm talking from my experience, okay? Because my colleagues, they didn't do that with the love. They didn't do this job with love. And they were like, oh, I need to have my money, my paycheck, so I don't care of the children. And not each of them, okay, not everyone, but some of them. And they were like, I don't care if this child doesn't want to be with me, if the child doesn't want to play with this other child, I just want this child with me and this other no, etc. So it was something like we did not respect their boundaries. So if as a child you teach them, so to be as a professional or as a parent, okay, you teach them that their boundaries does not matter, they are not worthy of your respect, they will grow up as a mess. I'm saying that because emotionally speaking, they will be a mess and they will have difficulties to pass through these traumas and handle properly anxieties. I know that because I worked in this, so I used to work with them, and lately I also talked with some of them. Now they are 18, 20. Okay, they remembered a little bit. They remember a little bit this past, and they are full of hatred, and they don't know how to handle anxiety, etc. They need to relearn things that they should have learned years ago when they were a child. And so we need to respect the boundary. As I said, we, even if we are a parent, a professional, we need to have love when we are doing that. And love doesn't mean, oh, I let you do whatever you want whenever you want. Okay, love means you put boundaries. Okay, you said no after 10 p.m. No TV, no screen, for example. Okay, Before 3 years old, we avoid screen for them, for example. That are limits you have to put for your child, because you do it with love. You want to protect them. And by showing them, let's say, clear boundaries, by respecting their choices, you show them that they are worthy of love, worthy of respect, and through it all, you are their anchor, and therefore they feel safe and they can handle better their own anxiety. I know that also because I didn't stay with my parents when I was under 3 years old. Okay, and I remember this time clearly. I remember my mother leaving me behind. Um, and it's still very hard for me to speak about it because the picture is clear for me. It is like yesterday, and I'm an adult now. But every time she left me, I was crying and I wasn't able to speak because it was not the time for me to speak. I was under 2 years old this time. But um, now the only question is why do you abandon me? Okay, why are you abandoning me? So that was the question I could have asked if I were able to speak at the time, but I was not. So it is very important to explain things, to listen to them, to put the right boundaries, and to respect their choices. Because when they will reach the let's say the adulthood, they will have to relearn everything, and it's very hard to learn when you are already an adult or even a young adult. It will be very much harder to do that. I know because I went through that. I talked with young adults and teenagers, and it is very hard for them to understand what happened. um, Partially also, it's also because of the fact that nobody can tell them what happened in that time. We don't have the clear memories of this kind of time. In general, we start having clear memories from our childhood around 4, 5, 6, but not before. It's very rare. So when we don't have someone to tell us, oh, when you were a baby, you were like this, you were a smiley baby, you were I don't know, whatever, and we don't have someone to tell us. So we need to understand, let's say, the memories we have from ourselves, because our body, even if our brain can't handle that at the time, our body, through the cells, has some memories from this time, from this trauma, from this feeling of being abandoned, from being disrespected, etc. So we need to be careful, and we need to do whatever we want to do with the child with love and respect. It is very important. So that's all for me, and thank you very much for listening and for this room as well.
I say thank you. Paulette, how do you respond first? Why not?
I mean, we speak the same language, Alavine. We really do, and I think it's really important that when there's been abandonment, and it's a very difficult topic for many people, and it doesn't matter whether it's abandonment as a baby or whether it's abandonment as a teenager or a child. Whenever you feel like you've been abandoned, whenever you feel like you weren't the one, you weren't chosen, you weren't good enough, you weren't whatever it was that you believe in your mind to be that you weren't, you've made a story, you've created the volumes of stories around the whys, right? And when that happens to you and you never really get the answers, then those stories that you created become what you believes. Yeah. And it's really very hard. And I have worked with people, because I work with children in care, who blame themselves. It must have been something I did because she kept the other two. It must have been something I did because she kept him but not me. And you have to explain that actually, you know, you did nothing wrong, you were just a child. You know, it probably was a financial situation. We don't know because she's not around to ask anymore. We can ask relatives, we can ask your brother or your sister or whatever if you want to. But you know what? Maybe the best thing to do is to say to yourself, who am I today? And am I lovable today? And am I a good person today? And how did I get to where I am today? And then you start to create this beautiful picture around what you've become. And Alavine, look who you've become, and look who you are. Look who I became, and look from my beginning. Look where Annie became, and look from his beginning. None of us had a great start. And I think that it does affect what you do. It definitely affected what I do, and it has done all my life. All my life, I've lived the same way, which is by being kind to people, by supporting people wherever I could, by being the person that I would have wanted my parents to have been for me, but couldn't be. So I think that's the way I am. And that's not a good example because I never had a good example. I had to be my own example. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense. I think as adults, that has to be our perspective. You know, like you say, we all grew up. You know, I don't know anyone who had the best of everything. Maybe there are some, right? You know, but even those, too much of a good thing can turn you the other way. It can make you, you know, have extremes of. It's not delusion. It's extremes of extreme values, extreme beliefs about you, about life and yourself. Everything's perfect. A bit of stress will blow you off. Like you said, that rude person. When you put,
Ideas of grandeur. We've got a
yeah,
few of them, yes.
right.
Yeah.
No, but for most of us, life was hard, right? God, Olivia.
Yes. What you said, the question you.
Your device has moved. Your internet's moved. Yeah, you're back again.
So, it is still hard to speak about it because I don't really share about that time of my life. But I already understand a lot of things about that part of my life because I know what this time gave me, okay, that I wouldn't have if I didn't went through whatever I went through. So I'm grateful for that, okay. I want to make sure everyone understands that. I shared that because I just want to show people that is very important to share with people, to share with babies, to share everything with love and respect. It is to show what can be the impact in a child brain or in a child identity as an adult, okay, later. I just wanted to share that. But in my case, I can see what that gave me as advantages because this is a big advantages. Okay, when I worked as a caregiver, if I can say, with children, with babies, I was able to understand that I had to respect them. I have to say, okay, you don't want me to change you. You don't want me to touch your poop, etc. Okay, I will not do it. You don't want me to do your diary, whatever they didn't want. I respected that. Yes, there were some conflicts with my colleagues because for them it was about convincing them, but you don't convince a person to let you see their intimate places, to see their body if they don't want to show you. So for me, it is a good advantage, a very great one, I can say, because I understand others I'm better now. I went through the dark part of that. I understand it, etc. And also, I can, before I try to do something, okay, I try to ask myself, but if I were this person, okay, if I were this man, this lady, whoever I am in front of, what would I want to do? And that gives me the feeling of what is it to be or to feel betrayed, to feel less, etc. So if I hurt someone, I don't do it intentionally. I do it because I didn't know, because there are maybe some cultural differences, some traditions, etc. But it is not intentionally, and that is the great advantages of my past. And that is something, it is still raw. I will not deny it, okay? Denying is pointless. So it is still raw. I still feel emotions about this time of my life, but I am able to see what that gave me and who I am today, what I can give to others, the kindness I have in my heart, the fact that I always want to help others, the fact that whatever I try to do it for the best of everyone, as well as for me and also for the others, because before I wanted to help others, and I was hurting myself, because I wasn't able to respect myself. But now, when I do something, I said, okay, I want to do something for you. I want to help you. But what about me? Will I be able to keep doing whatever I have to do? And and that is my position now. I want to help you, but not harm me in the process. That is what I want to say. So thank you for your reminders, Paulette, and thank you, Annie, as well.
Yeah,
I love that, because what you just said is, I want to help, but not at the cost of hurting myself. And that is one of the biggest lessons that we have to learn in any kind of therapy or counseling. And when you are trying to be supportive, especially if you've been hurt or wounded in some way, in a relationship, whether it's parental or partnerships, when you've been the wounded party, you become what's called a people pleaser. You'll do anything to make the next person pleased and happy, and you'll do anything they say within reason, because you're so determined not to have another failed relationship that you'll over please, you'll overdo, and at the detriment of your own self. And what you just said is exactly the same thing. Yes, you did that. Yes, you recognized it. You poured it back in. You put your own boundaries in place. You still give the best possible service. You still give the best possible help you can, but not at the cost of your own ability to cope. Because we don't need to add to our plate. Our plate's already full. We don't need other people's stuff on our plate. So I always think about life, and I say to people, imagine a big full plate of dinner, and somebody comes along and sticks two great big helpings on top. And you go, but I didn't want that. I never wanted that extra helping, right? That's somebody else's problem. They just dumped on your plate. What we have to do is have the boundaries around our plate that say, we've got enough, thank you. We don't need yours. Does that make
See,
sense, Aveline?
yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, look, as I've been saying, though, if you're doing things with love, I will say thank you. And the extra help is just what I want. Depends on what it is, right? Depends on what, of course, it
Yeah.
depends on what.
But the
If it's a
thank yous are so
if it's a
important,
meeting
and the
meal,
smiles.
yeah.
Your smile lights a room up, right?
Mm.
My grumpiness can shut a room down. That's exactly what we just talked about, right? It's the
Plus,
same thing, right? It is, and our boundaries have to be it's no one else's problem that I've just stormed out of a meeting, right? It's my problem, and I should have dealt with that in a better grown-up way than stomping through the office like, you know, the world's come to an end. And so I learned from the first time I did it, and never happened again. And I had written a lot of very bad swear words on a bit of paper. I felt better for it, right? The cup of coffee helped. But the situation is when I realized just how everybody was like, you know, can we breathe? Everyone was practically holding their breath outside. You know, you realize, did I do that? Did I cause that? Because I'm over it now. Now I've written 55,000 F words. I'm over it all, right? But they're all out there worrying stupid about what kind of mood I'm coming out in, you know? And you don't realize sometimes you dump on people without intention. And that's what Evelyn's saying is about being, you know, doing things with intention, being kind with intention, doing the right thing with love and goodwill, and being grateful. And then them being in turn grateful for your action is what makes the world go round. That's what makes the world go round.
I agree. Look, as you know, Quilia says, yes, we all did the best we could with information that we had at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
As adults, I think now you mentioned some strategies, CBT amongst all of them, right? You know, we need to learn to reframe situations. As adults, we can. You know, it's not the situation that makes us anxious; it's how we choose to see it. It's in our minds. This is a weird thing, right? I mean, and we have to be willing to do what Levine say, you know, which is love ourselves first. And ask, you know, and ask the Jack on Water question, as Paulette tells me, right? What would water do? If you love yourself, like, what would I do in this situation is what you're really asking yourself. Like, what do I really want to do? What's the right thing for me to do? You know, it's rare you're going to get the answer. Panic. Yeah, panic is going to help you. It's like our brain doesn't say things like that. Our brain says, here's a plan. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? You know, and then say, let's go ahead and do it. That's what I'll say for sure, right? Paulette, we've been here way too long.
Sorry, apologize. We always are. We always are. And the reason being is because people get so much from it. And that's really important for me, that, you know, if you know the name Paulette Hallam, if you know about Jack and Water books, then you know about the website www.water on the web or jackandwater.com. Either or will get you there. And, you know, the books are available from Amazon. I don't often boast and promote, but 5 out of 5 from independent adjudicators. That is the best you can ask for. You know, being an Amazon bestseller, being an international bestseller, thank you to Annie, is huge. But when you get somebody independently who is their job to review books, say it's one of the best they've read this year, that means so much to me. And it means that we're on the right road. So I'm not talking from a position of I don't know what I'm saying. I'm talking from a position of let's help children.
For sure. I'm trying. I seem to have lost our video, Paulette.
Have you? Shall I sing it? That'll empty them out.
Wouldn't that be fun, eh? Wouldn't that be fun?
No, not for anyone else.
And I said, that one's an audio, right? And I said, I want to play the video. I shared the link in the comments. My friends do go and buy the books. You know, another day passes. You know, if you've got kids, you know, learning this skill of how to calm the mind. You know, breathe. Just take a second to breathe. And you know, clarity comes from just that pause. You know, I love that pause. I think, you know, a lot of people don't want to pause. You know, we need to learn to, you know, say, whenever I pause, Paulette, clarity suddenly falls on me. And that's the way we have to be. I don't know how else we can be. Okay, so that's a song, that's not video. So it might be. Let me try it, Paulette. Let me see what I can play the video. And then I guess, you know.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for coming, as always. Yeah. Thank you.
Don't you disappear, though, Paulette. Let's try it. If it doesn't work, then plan B.
Walter #1 bestseller worldwide. Stories that inspire, becoming every child's guide. She teaches resilience, skill by skill, slowing worries down until they're still. Approaching issues with a stronger mind, building generations one heart at a time. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do? What would Walter do? What would Walter do? Not for profit, but for every child's right to handle smaller challenges, to stand and fight. The bigger stuff takes longer, that's okay, but confidence begins with what we do today. Trustworthy souls and integrity shine at Mental Wellness Cafe. She draws the line between drowning in the darkness and finding light. She lifts them up, teaches them to hold on tight. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do? To clear your mind, give yourself headspace to think before you let the pressure make your spirit sink. Self-belief and talking to someone you trust, these are the tools that lift us from the dust. She champions the dignity of growing strong. Every child capable, they belong all along. Generations rising with the strength she's built. Paulette's legacy, a world without guilt. From Huntington to hearts across the globe, her compassion is the thread that she has woven and sewed. Adults and children